I just heard this, you guys. Doge now means Democrats officially getting exposed. Like, how sick is that, right? And it's true, too. Like, just recently, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin just found out that Stacey Abrams, former Georgia Congresswoman and huge Biden advocate, together with her organization Power Forward Communities, received $2 billion to be a pass-through entity for Biden's EPA's $20 billion gold bar scheme. And guess what, guys? They reported just $100 in total revenue after their founding in late 2023. Does that sound like money laundering? Does it sound like, I don't know, what happened to the other $20 billion that wasn't reported? Comment down below what you think happened with that money. So the money was earmarked for Power Forward Communities, a nonprofit partnered with multiple left-wing groups founded by Abrams. Does this Stacey Abrams seem like a trustworthy individual? She even said that she was thrilled to be a part of the organization. You don't say. I mean, shouldn't Abrams be in prison by now? So we're draining the swamp and the rats are all coming out. Question is, when are they actually going to go to jail for their crimes? I mean, just look at this one, right? Former Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm is joining the board of a major U.S. utility company that received millions of taxpayer dollars from Granholm's agency on her watch. Michael Chamberlain, executive director of Protect the Public's Trust, he described it this way. Though they promised us something far different, the Biden administration revolving door looks to be swirling fast enough to power a major city. Now, if you look at the pattern, you'll see the real reason why Democrats push back pretty hard on the proposal to shutter the USAID. Even former USAID officials, they pointed it out themselves. The Democratic administrations have increasingly used the agency to promote a radical leftist agenda worldwide. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about what's going on in Ukraine again, guys. So there's this video that went viral of a Ukrainian soldier tearing off the American flag from its helmet, supposedly in protest of Trump's recent remarks about Vladimir Zelensky. This begs the question, why were Ukrainian soldiers wearing US flags on their helmets? I mean, it's not our war, right? At least that's what they told us. You know, it just kind of makes you want to say to these people, not another damn dime from Uncle Sam, right? We're really going to get into this one, guys. So make sure you don't miss it. We're going to go ahead and dive right in. By the way, if you appreciate the daily updates, news updates like this, definitely hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us get views and overcome the tricky YouTube algorithm. Anyway, all right, guys. So first, we got this EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin discussing how he discovered $2 billion put away by the Biden administration to support a climate group linked to Stacey Abrams. I can't make this stuff up, guys. Yeah, for real. But here's a clip.
Mr. Administrator, can you explain what the heck happened here and how another slush fund has been exposed?
So this is $2 billion of that $20 billion that was parked at this bank outside of government towards the end of the Biden administration. Power Forward Communities, which Stacey Abrams is part of, only received $100 in 2023. They then got $2 billion in this grant in 2024. Now, I was just reading over the grant agreement, Laura. On the first page, it gives the organization, this nonprofit, 21 days to distribute $2 billion. But this is the crazy part. I went to page 7 of the grant agreement, and it's giving the entity 90 days to complete a training called How to Develop a Budget. Now, I would say that if an organization needs to take a training on how to develop a budget, one, they should be taking the training before they're spending $1, but they definitely shouldn't be getting $2 billion.
She's quite something, right? She loses in Georgia, and then she goes on to be she's really an aggregator of, fraud and corruption in the fact, if this is how you view government, it's just a place where you can reward your friends and fund your pet projects and call them green, and then everyone feels good about it. But the Citibank accounts where this money was held, has that money itself been now frozen? Is there actual fraud, do you think, in these payments, or was it just the usual nonsense they were pulling at the end of an administration?
The entire scheme as set up is fraud. It's wasteful. It is abuse. We just had another example come out over the last 24 hours where $5 billion went to another recipient. That person was the director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. He comes from this fund, joins the Biden administration, becomes the director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, and then gave $5 billion to his recently left former employer. That sounds like self-dealing. That sounds like a conflict of interest. And the other problem is that all of this money was put up front. It wasn't like there was performance. You show performance, then you ask for the next tranche. It was, here's $20 billion. And it was going to their friends on the left, as opposed to making sure that the money is going directly towards the purpose that you allegedly said this money was needed for in the first place. If you care about clean air, land, and water, if you think there's some community that's been left behind, then why aren't you spending the dollar actually remediating that issue instead of paying on?
So yeah, apparently the money was earmarked for Power Forward Communities, a nonprofit partner with multiple left-wing groups founded by Abrams. Apparently, it was also set up so that the funds were set aside at an outside financial institution, Citibank, before Biden left office, and part of a larger $20 billion pot of money that the former president's EPA received through the Inflation Reduction Act to dole out to climate groups. Meanwhile, they don't have any money for Social Security, but that's a whole nother story for another day. And as Lee Zeldin points out, it is extremely concerning that an organization that reported just $100 in revenue in 2023 was chosen to receive $2 billion. That is 20 million times the organization's reported revenue. I mean, ridiculous, right? And it only gets worse when you consider how Zeldin located $20 billion that his EPA predecessors squirreled away in what they're calling an apparent attempt to prevent the Trump administration from clawing back the money and to obscure the various groups of which Power Forward Communities and 7 other entities decide to distribute the funds. How many of you guys want to bet some politicians on the Democratic side had their palms greased? Hey, would it really surprise you? And what they're thinking here is that the $20 billion is probably going to be handed out to far left activist groups without any kind of federal oversight, and maybe even some groups with close ties to the Biden administration. They're even suspecting the possibility of a Biden administration scheme to quickly park $20 billion outside the agency and creating some organizations out of thin air just to take advantage of this. Can you imagine the depravity of being able to do this to the American taxpayer? Like Zeldin said, as we continue to learn more about where some of this money went, it is even more apparent how far-reaching and widely accepted this waste and abuse has been. I think they're being real kind by saying waste and abuse. I'm calling fraud, guys. What about you? If you're thinking it's fraud, let me know in the comments down below, guys. Now, if you look at the timeline, Stacey Abrams in July last year wrote an op-ed article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution declaring that Democrats' path to victory lies in the standing by Biden and that it was time to stop the Joe Biden doom loop. Her organization, Power Forward Communities, was awarded the grant the following month. Now, that's got to be a little bit more than just a mere coincidence, right, guys? In fact, Zeldin already described Stacey Abrams' Power Forward Communities as a pass-through entity for Biden's EPA's $20 billion gold bar scheme in his ex-post exposing the corruption. So what do you guys think? Should Stacey Abrams and Joe Biden at least be investigated for this? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below, guys. Hit the like button to show your support for the channel and the investigative work that we're doing here. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you get more content like this sent straight to your devices. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Now, another example of some very questionable officials under the Biden administration, take a look at former Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, who denies Biden having something to do with high gas prices, despite him also taking credit for low prices. Here, watch this.
So gas prices are now up 33 cents over the past month. The president took credit for the prices coming down. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, as you mentioned, is no longer releasing. Does the president get credit for the price of gas going up?
Well, it's obviously based upon international and climate events.
So now this very same Biden official just landed this very cushy gig at a major utility company that received millions of taxpayer dollars from Granholm's agency when she was energy secretary. Coincidence? Well, let's take a look here. So Granholm will be a board member for Edison International, a major utility holding company, and she will also sit on the board of Southern California Edison, a subsidiary of the holding company. Now, this company, SCE, was also a part of a group of California-based entities that received $600 million in taxpayer cash from Granholm's Department of Energy in August 2024. Now, Michael Chamberlain, executive director of Protect the Public's Trust, called out the hypocrisy, saying that incidents of former powerful government officials cashing in on their government service by leaving to work for companies that had matters before the department while they were there is a major contributor to the precipitous decline in the public's trust in government. Translation: outright corruption just like this is exactly why people have been losing their trust in our government. Mind you, this wasn't the only conflict of interest Granholm was involved in under the Biden administration. There was controversy over her personal investments in Proterra, which is an electric bus manufacturer that the Biden administration was promoting while Granholm had a stake in the firm. Yes, this was while she was actually serving as Biden's energy secretary. Come on, guys. She even cleared her position in May 2021 and netted capital gains of about $1.6 million. But did anybody in the mainstream media actually pick that story up? Nope. No sirree, Bob, because all the major news outlets were busy talking about Trump being the bad guy. Now, Granholm is just the latest Biden administration official to find a new gig after leaving office. So let's just say many are heading back into the swamp while their political party regroups from their massive losses. And who can blame them, right? Under the Biden administration, USAID became a progressive slush fund. Former USAID officials confirmed as much. Max Primorak, who served as USAID's acting chief operating officer, senior agency vetting official, and regulatory reform officer in the first Trump administration, said that the agency under Biden was literally trying to export this agenda to create the rest of the world in their radical image. He talked about how the Biden administration's focus on spreading ideas like DEI and transgender ideology weakened America's influence abroad, that it did tremendous harm to our national security interests by alienating a lot of people around the world. Even French President Emmanuel Macron, he warned his pretty little liberal country against participating in the woke nonsense of policing language in a 2021 speech. USAID had been funding programs like secret schools for women in Afghanistan, $20 million for the creation of a Sesame Street program in Iraq, and a $2 million grant for gender-affirming care in Guatemala. Iowa Republican Senator Joni Ernst also revealed USAID spent over $2 million on pottery classes in Morocco, despite the fact that Moroccans had been making pottery for thousands of years. So, in short, a slush fund for the progressives. And what do we get in return for all this foreign aid crap, right? Just a Ukrainian soldier tearing off the American flag from his helmet. Here, watch this.
Ну що, пацани, дождались ми підтримки, а? Дождались.
Now, putting aside the question of why this guy even had a U.S. flag on his helmet in the first place, let's talk about Ukraine here for a second, okay? Because their President Zelensky doesn't seem to be all that interested in reaching a peace deal with Russia anytime soon. Maybe it's because he knows he's going to be replaced when the election happens. Well, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz just admitted that President Trump is obviously very frustrated right now with President Zelensky. The fact that he hasn't come to the table, that he hasn't been willing to take this opportunity that they've offered. And Waltz also pointed out how it certainly isn't Russia's interest or in the American people's interest for this war to grind on forever and ever and ever. So a key part of this conversation was helping President Zelensky understand this war needs to come to an end. I mean, they even had a problem with the Trump administration talking to Russia, but Vice President J.D. Vance, he quickly shut that down, saying that communicating with Russia is key to advancing a deal, and said he believes Europe is on the cusp of peace for the first time in 3 years. He pointed out, how are you going to end the war unless you're talking to Russia? You've got to talk to everybody involved in the fighting if you actually want to bring this conflict to a close. And it's not like Trump's team isn't talking to Zelensky. Zelensky, U.S. officials have met with Ukrainian officials about a peace deal, and Kellogg even said in a post on X that the U.S. remains committed to ending the war and finding ways to establish sustainable peace. Needless to say, guys, things have been very tense with our president and the Ukrainian leader. Zelensky accused Trump of perpetuating Russian disinformation. Meanwhile, Trump called him a dictator for who has failed his country and suggested Ukraine initiated the war. Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. I mean, our president does have a point there. It's been almost a year after Zelensky's 5-year term was slated to end. The reason that he's remained in his position leading Kiev is because the Ukrainian constitution bars holding elections under martial law. Ukraine has been under martial law since February 2022, but like Trump's former deputy national security advisor, KT McFarland, pointed out, if President Zelensky is going to walk away from this and somehow say he's against any deal with Russia, he's against any deal with America. Well, how does he plan to keep this country safe for the next, 20, 30, 40 years? You know what I think? I think Zelensky has no incentive to end this war because as long as this war goes on, he stays the president because of their own rules, because of their own law. If the war ends, then the people can vote him out. That's a big problem for them. And we all know President Trump's aiming to be the best president in American history. Part of that is his vow on the campaign trail that he would work to end this conflict. Now, that's exactly what he's doing right now. So either Zelensky gets on board and scores some decent concessions for his country, or he's going to be up shit's creek without a paddle. You know what I mean, guys? Drop a quick yes in the comments down below. Let me know if I'm making sense to you guys. More on this on our future updates. In the meantime, you can check out some of our other videos that are about to pop up. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.